What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning in. Yeah, I know for me, this is a little bit of a late stream, even though I know for y'all, it's probably like early afternoon. We are live right now on YouTube. We are live on Twitter. We are now live on Rockfin, and we are live on Rumble as well. We have an exciting show for you today. I know that the Epstein stuff supposedly is about to drop or just dropped. That's going to have to be a tomorrow stream. I think tomorrow we are going to have to do an early morning stream. So for all my early birds, I'm talking about my real early birds, y'all probably going to have a stream pretty early tomorrow morning. Y'all know I'm 2 hours ahead of y'all for like another 10 to 12 days. So I'm gonna have to go through what's been released. If they do decide to release it tonight, and if there is any real revelations, we'll see how that goes. And we'll probably do an early stream tomorrow about that because that is some pretty huge news. Y'all know this channel has actually been hit pretty hard, specifically because of Epstein stuff. Like y'all remember when we had the MCSC network, and it was me and Convo Couch and Misty, Franco, Slow News Day. So all of us, and I think Kim Iverson, but it was separate, but it happened at the same time. All of us were demonetized at the exact same time on the exact same day. We literally all received an email. And one of the reasons, like, so when they gave us the email, supposedly because of the election coverage. Then whenever all of us tried to reapply, at least in the case of me and the Convo Couch, they actually denied us, and they said it was because we were bullying Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, so we had to delete. I think I had to delete almost all of my videos of Epstein just so I could get my channel back and get remonetized. And the Convo Couch, if I'm not mistaken, actually never was able to get remonetized after that. I was surprised that they actually remonetized me. But yeah, like they literally said we were bullying Epstein. So I want to do some shout outs and everything like that before we get started. We have a lot to pack into in a short amount of time. So do want to get some shout outs out the way. Patrick Henningsen will be joining us shortly to talk about Nordstream 2 and some revelations that 21st Century Newswire has made with the brilliant article that they put out. We're going to be talking about Jake Tapper. We're going to be talking about Russell Brand. Like I said, we have a great show today. Ashura, what's going on? What did Sabby do to that fake Russell Brand? Hey, man, look. Sabby got some motion nowadays, man. Look, Sabby comments something, and all of a sudden, Russell deleted his tweet quick, fast, in a hurry. We're going to talk about that. And it's even more interesting because really, that's not the first tweet, like a pro-Israel tweet or pro-Trump tweet that he's put out that he got a lot of pushback on. But for whatever reason, in this particular case, whenever Sabby called him out, that thing was gone. It was gone shortly after. So Nebo Adim, what's going on? God bless, brother, for standing for truth in an inhumane time. Yeah, it is a very inhumane time, unfortunately. What's up with all my Brazil people? Do I got any Brazil people in here? E aí? Tudo bem? Espero que tudo tá beleza contigo. Tudo tranquilo. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Right now, Rio is so hot that I can't believe I'm about to say this. I actually miss the damn cold. It has been so hot in Rio, and this is not Miami heat. Miami heat is a little bit different. I don't know how to explain it, but Rio heat, that thing, it got some reverb. It reverberates off of itself. Rio heat will hit the pavement, hit the tree, and then hit you in the face, and then it gets multiplied by 10. I don't know how to explain it, but it's hot as hell. You could be in your house with the air conditioner on, and somehow the sun is still draining you. I ain't never experienced anything like it. It can be so hot in Rio that you turn on your cold water, but it don't matter. The cold water's still hot. That's how hot it gets. I'm not joking. Sally Walker, what's going on? Greetings to my ADOS family, my folks within the diaspora and comrades in the struggle. Amen to that one. Greetings to all of you guys. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from. If you watch from Twitter, if you watch from Rockfin, if you watch from Rumble, or YouTube. Let me make sure I got my Rockfin peeps up. And I want to give a really quick shout out. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure you subscribe. And before we get started, I do want to give a quick shout out to my pops. He was in the ICU and he was very, very sick. Had a scare for a minute, but you know, he's recovering. Thank God. It was a little bit scary for a second there, but definitely want to give a shout out to my pops. You know, he's doing a lot better now. He is on the road to recovery. And yeah, man, just hold your people, man. Hold your people close. Call your parents. Tell them you love them. You know, I try to talk to my parents as often as I can, even being in Rio. But you know, you just never know. My dad was great. He was doing fine. My dad works out all the time. He plays sports. Man, bowls like a madman. He used to play baseball until very recently. Like, man, just out of nowhere, he ends up in the hospital. So give a shout. I just want to give a shout out to my pops. Glad you're feeling better. I'll talk to you a little bit later if you're watching. Yeah, man. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People Podcast. And of course, I am your humble host, Niko House. And first, we're going to start off with Donald Trump allowing the Tate brothers to come to the United States. And that's honestly putting it lightly. He didn't allow the Tate brothers to come to the United States. He lobbied for the Tate brothers to come to the United States. And when I say he lobbied for the Tate brothers to come to the United States, what I really mean is he literally threatened the Romanian government to allow the Tate brothers to leave in the middle of a federal investigation. And I'm not talking about like a federal investigation where, you know, maybe you might get charged, maybe not. These brothers were indicted. In other words, there was already an investigation to figure out if you should be charged. That investigation showed enough evidence that there was probable cause to pursue a trial. So they haven't been able to leave Romania because they're rightfully considered flight risks. And Trump lobbied the Romanian government to allow them to leave. So we're going to check out really quick an article from BBC. Just kind of give it a breakdown of what's going on because I can't, you know what? I'm not going to lie. No, was I surprised? No, I wasn't surprised. What did I tell y'all? Anybody who kisses Trump's ass will always be in Trump's good graces. This is once again the easiest thing to understand about Trump. This is the most in a world for a guy who is seemingly unpredictable. The one predictable characteristic about him is that if you cater to his ego, you will get what you want, whether or not you were guilty. And Assure as Assure, how is your Portuguese? Yeah, I guess I'm about like 85 to 90% fluent. I would say that my slang can use some work. Like if I was like in Sao Paulo, I'm good. Like that's perfect. I'm good. But if like even in Rio, even though I live here, there's so many different dialects, so much slang, and the fact that half of the population of the adult population rather, can't actually read. That actually is somewhat problematic. It can be a little bit problematic at times because they put words together that don't belong together. They don't, if they're spelling something, for example, sending you a message, they'll add words that shouldn't be added, or they'll separate words that shouldn't be separated. So everybody prefers to send voice messages. And even then it can be a little complicated because what happens is, even though they know that I'm a gringo, they're trying to say the words correctly or they'll try to speak clearly, but they just don't know how to say the word right because they're not used to reading it or hearing it spoken correctly. They're used to hearing it how their parents say it or how their friends and family and relatives have, and their people around them say it. So that's the only thing that can give me trouble at times. But other than that, yeah. My wife doesn't speak English, so I didn't have really much of a choice. And neither does my oldest son. So With that being said, let's check out this article. Why are the Tate brothers in the U.S.? The controversial influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan, I definitely wrote Christian in that in my description, whatever. And his brother Tristan have landed in the United States after leaving Romania, where they face charges of rape, trafficking minors, and money laundering. All of which they deny, of course. Questions remain about why they were allowed to travel and what happens next with their legal cases. Who are the Tate brothers? Those of you who don't know. Andrew Tate, 38, and his brother Tristan, 36, are dual US and UK citizens who claim to have made millions from their social media empire. That, it's true. It depends on what you call social media. If you mean pimping out young girls on webcams, then I guess that's a social media empire. Their online output was controversial even before their legal troubles, with the pair attracting frequent criticisms over offensive statements about women. The pair have an American father who worked for the U.S. Air Force in Britain. Their parents met in the U.K. before moving to the U.S. After their parents divorced, their mother moves to Luton, England. The brothers spent time in the U.K., where they built their early careers. Police in the U.K. have linked Andrew Tate to the quite terrifying radicalization of boys and young men in a 2024 report into violence against women and girls. I will say, I'm not really trying to defend Andrew Tate here. I would just say that there is a problem in general with men who hate women because of that. The reality that most men don't know how to talk to women. They don't know how to treat women. And because they don't get the attention they feel they deserve, they lash out. It's a bunch of guys with mommy issues. It's like, I'll put it like this. The reason that the MCU is so popular and was so popular is because Marvel comics were popular. These superheroes were already a thing. They were popular. The comics popularized them, but the MCU as a film franchise is popular because the comics were popular. Tate brothers and that what's his name? Myron and all those guys, Myron Games, whatever the hell his name is, like they're popular because they're tapping into a sentiment that is unfortunately already popularized amongst young men. They're already young men who feel this way. And Tate being rich and saying that this mindset is what got me rich, all it did was embolden them. That's what they're tapping into. Tate is using he's not using, or rather he's weaponizing a sentiment that has already been felt by all these young men. That's all he's doing, which is sad and a whole nother story in and of itself. It says here, so the brothers were first arrested in Romania in 2022. They're facing separate, unrelated charges of rape and human trafficking in the UK. Both brothers also denied the charges against them in the UK. So they flew to the United States and landed today. I want to check out this Forbes article real quick for you guys. So this is just talking about, here's why Trump may view Andrew Tate as an ally, as he reportedly pressures Romania to lift his travel restrictions. This is going back to what I was talking about. Trump, as unpredictable as he may be when it comes to some things, he is very predictable when it comes to others. President Donald Trump is reportedly pressuring Romania to ease travel restrictions on controversial manosphere influencer Andrew Tate, who has been embroiled in a years-long legal fight in the country where he has been charged with rape and human trafficking, and who has also championed the president for months to his millions of social media followers. Coincidence? Probably not. Andrew Tate, he ain't really that smart, but he's slick. Like, if you just throw all your morals and ethics out the window, it's very easy to get your way in a world where social media, unfortunately, influences so much more than it should, honestly, because I used to say, oh, social media isn't real life. Like, that's what I used to say. But the reality is, we live in a world of algorithms. Algorithms determine everything now. And so because the world itself has become an algorithm, so to speak, social media can actually influence and does oftentimes, unfortunately, real life. It is real life effectively. And this is just another example of that. Tate, who has more than 10 million followers on X, has repeatedly praised Trump and urged his American followers to vote for him ahead of the 2024 election, posting such praises as all Trump does is win. Well, I guess except for that one time he kind of lost. But and stating those who oppose him should be expelled from the country. Really? Come on, bro. Tate has, which is hilarious, I guess, because especially because he was like in Romania, like you were in a country that isn't even your country. You're talking about like somebody. That's just wild to me, bro. Tate has compared himself to Trump in one post, noting both he and Trump have been accused of sex crimes and were vilified by old recordings making jokes. I'm going to check if I can find that recording of Andrew Tate's jokes. And you'll figure out really quickly that even though I don't really like Trump, what he said in his joke is not even comparable to Andrew Tate literally saying, "Yep, I pimped out girls for money and took all the money." I don't understand what kind of joke is that? Where's the punchline at? I'm still waiting for it. Tate himself, or Tate, a self-avowed misogynist, has used sexist language to prop up Trump in one post stating his election victory kept evil warmongering she-witches out of office. Well, that's not really misogynistic. I mean, Kamala is a she-witch. We're going to be real about it. I mean, it's not really misogynist. That's just a fact. And so is Hillary. And in other posts, use homophobic slurs and offensive language to refer to supporters of Vice President Kamala Harris. Members of Trump's inner circle have also voiced support for Tate, including Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who called Tate's detention in Romania absolute insanity. And billionaire Elon Musk, who seems to be if you are corrupt, it's almost like Elon Musk is on a mission to uplift you. I don't know what that, like with Milei, bro, I wouldn't even want to be supported by Musk. Musk liked one of my tweets or retweeted one of my stuff one time, and I was like, I might have to delete this shit. I might have to delete it because I don't want Musk's support for shit. But he replied to a post on X about Tate voicing his intent to run for UK Prime Minister, praising Tate's assessment of UK politics as not wrong, which is kind of funny. I don't know if you can run as a felon, like even if you've been convicted in the UK, but like if he wanted to run for president of the US, as long as he did his time, he could run for president even though he couldn't vote for himself, which is weird. So really quick, U.S. officials have reportedly urged Romania to lift travel restrictions on Tate. The Financial Times reported, citing 3 unnamed sources. The matter was first raised by U.S. officials on a call with Romanian government and again raised by the Trump administration diplomat Richard Grenell at the Munich Security Conference last week. A spokesperson for the Romanian Foreign Minister, Emil Horizianu, told the Financial Times that Romanian courts are independent and operate based on the law. There is due process, and declined to comment on specific discussions about Tate. Grenell told the Financial Times he had no substantive conversations with Horizianu, but he supports Tate. But clarify, he supports Tate. I don't know why you would support him. This is the important stuff, right? Tate was detained in Romania in December 2022 and indicted 6 months later on charges of rape, human trafficking, and engaged in organized criminal activity, all of which Tate has denied. Prosecutors accused Tate and his brother Cristian Tate, as well as 2 Romanian women, of recruiting women and forcing them to make pornographic content. Romanian officials said in August that they were investigating the Tate brothers for trafficking minors and alleged sexual intercourse with a minor. Tate has also been accused of sexual violence in the UK, where a Romanian court ruled he may be extradited after his trial in Romania. Tate's pending Romanian trial, however, was blocked by the appeals court in December, which ruled his indictment did not meet the requirements to proceed to trial. So, there's a lot to unpack here, a lot to unravel here. I don't understand why Donald Trump is getting involved in this case. That's my first thing. I don't know why we would be using U.S. officials and, effectively U.S. resources to lobby on behalf of the Tate brothers. What contributions have they made to the United States that it is pertinent? Hell, what contributions have they made to society that it is pertinent for us to lobby on behalf of, to be quite frank, two pieces of shit that have actually added to the denigration of society? Like, they have contributed to the denigration of society. They are the worst aspects of society. What I would ask MAGA people is like, is this representative of Western Christian values? Is this what you want your conservative party, your conservative Christian party to represent? This is who you want them fighting for? Not the working class and the downtrodden, not the ones who are being genocided right now, whether it be in Palestine, whether it be in the Congo or Somalia. You want them going hard in the paint for the Tate brothers? And as far as Andrew Tate himself is concerned, he's a fucking hypocrite. He's a hypocrite. Wanna know why? There's a lot of reasons why. But as far as his most recent hypocrisy, this man was advocating openly for Trump without a single criticism, but simultaneously pretends to have the audacity to care about the genocide happening in Gaza. In fact, Ben Shapiro actually attacked Andrew Tate and criticized Donald Trump because of Trump lobbying on behalf of Andrew Tate for them to end up in the U.S. Now, we know that Trump just put out, or just reposted rather, that horrendous, disgusting video. We know the AI video talking about Trump's Gaza. Where was Tate at on that guy? Oh, that's right. Looking out for his home. He was looking out for his own ass. And Trump in the middle of an investigation. Cool. The appeals court in Romania blocked it. They were going to have to, so it goes back down and have to redo that. Okay, cool. But he's in the middle of a sex trafficking investigation in not one, but two countries. Like, let's not pretend Andrew Tate is some victim of the machine. He always talks about breaking the matrix. That motherfucker is part of the matrix. What did Morpheus say? The system of control. Andrew Tate is part of a system of control. The man will tell everybody, oh, you should be expelled from the country if you don't support the guy who is literally planning on building a resort, turning Gaza into a tourist destination by building resorts and hotels on top of the graves, unmarked graves of dead babies. Pretending to advocate on behalf of these people who have nobody to advocate them. And he gained a shitload of support for it. Now, as far as Tate himself and what he may or may not be guilty of, there is a Twitter account, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, I think I have a link right here. Here we go. It does a damn good job of documenting a lot of what Andrew Tate does or has done and has said. Crayon Murders is the Twitter account. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. And he tweeted this out in disgust. Trump administration is pressuring Romania to relax the Tate brothers' travel restrictions, pressuring a foreign government to interfere in an independent judicial process for political or personal favors constitutes corruption. Absolutely right. Trump administration presses Romania to lift restrictions on the Tate brothers, like I just read. Let me see if I can find where he put the videos. This dude put together a compilation of all the stuff that Tate has admitted to. I mean, dude got all the files and all that. If y'all want to check, go like look deeper into this. Go to Murdered by Crayons. That's the Twitter account. Oh man, where is it? Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can find it so I can play a video for y'all. If not, I'll find it on another day. But it was a minute ago that he posted it, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, yo, that's crazy. Come on. I might not be able to find it right now, y'all. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it right now. My apologies. I'm gonna have to find that shit later. But dog, it was a compilation. Oh, let me see.
I have to fuck her so she obeys me. I don't give a shit about having sex with beautiful women. I fuck them so they listen to me, so I can get what I actually want, which is not them. It's a means to an end. Every single Bond girl was exploited. That's exactly what I do. When I watch a Bond film and I see him basically...
Hey, remember how that article was like, oh, or Andrew Tate says that people are bringing up old videos where he's telling jokes. Is this a joke? I'm still waiting for the punchline. It doesn't look like he's in a joking mood during this conversation.
Pimp a bitch. To me, that speaks to my heart. I've been there. I've done that.
You hear?
To my heart, I see him basically pimp a bitch. To me, that speaks to my heart. I've been there. I've done that. Anyone who's followed me long enough knows that I first made my $1 million with a webcam business. I have met beautiful women with a good personality and thought, she will make me money. I have to fuck this bitch. I don't want to have sex with her. I just need the money.
Yeah. Is that a joke? I'm confused. Where's the punchline? I'm still waiting for it. That's one of the times where he admitted that's what he did. He literally just said, oh man, yeah, like 007, he had sex with women, like pimping them out. Yeah, I relate to that. Like, what? What kind of statement is that? That's like the least incriminating thing that he said. If you watch the compilation of all the interviews that he said, like where he talks and admits basically to the majority of the things that he's being charged for, it's insane. But even if he isn't guilty, right? Let's just say like he isn't guilty of committing an actual felony. This is who you're going to bat for? This is who we're bringing into the country? They keep what does Trump always say about Central and South America, or what has he said? And what is a lot of his supporters? They're bringing in their worst. They're not bringing in nice guys. They're not bringing in their best. They're not bringing in people who improve study. They're bringing in their worst. It's the worst ones. They're bringing in predators, rapists. Oh, so what do you do to prove your conviction on that issue, and that the reason that you are against Latin Americans migrating, undocumented or otherwise, into the United States is because you're trying to preserve society? You bring in one of the worst shitbags known to humankind. Because of what? Because he shouted you out on Twitter. Bro. Because, like I said, whether or not he's guilty of actually committing a crime, okay, that's a conversation to be had. And I mean, you can go through the court documents and determine that if you want to. But like, if you or I were accused of felony charges, would we be allowed to leave the country? Well, I mean, you could be rich and famous, so perhaps you, but not I. I'll tell you that. Look what happened with Julian Assange, y'all. Shit, maybe if Trump went that hard and threatened the British government, maybe Julian Assange wouldn't have had to damn near rot in prison in Belmarsh for being a journalist. Like Julian Assange actually made legitimate contributions to society, some of which many would argue helped Trump win in 2016. Not from social media, but doing his actual job. And Trump was going to let him. Actually, no, he was arrested and taken to Belmarsh under the Trump administration while being innocent. He didn't even do anything. Think about that. But he goes to bat in the middle of an investigation for Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate, once again, Mr. Pro-Palestine. That man is out here just knob-slobbing Donald Trump. Despite the fact Donald Trump is literally saying, at this point, I don't even know if he's going to give Gaza to Israel. I think that he is dead ass serious when he says, yeah, we're taking over Gaza. Y'all don't know how to play with your toy? We're going to take it from you and we're going to keep it. Like that's his decision to make. That's why I can't get down with the uncritical nature of a lot of MAGA people. I will give credit what credit is due, though, because there are some who have been willing to criticize Donald Trump when it comes to MAGA, or even in this particular case. I found somebody. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. In this particular case, I found somebody who was like, this is not what I voted for. There we go. This is Abby Libby. She says, I voted for an administration that would stop human trafficking at our borders. I voted to get rapists and pedophiles off the streets. Trump's actions in freeing the Tate brothers was a stunning betrayal of his mandate. 100% agree. I mean, I didn't vote for the man, but respect to Miss Abby Libby for keeping it real, because we don't got enough people doing it. Now, I will say that the beautiful thing is this is yet again another example. Y'all know what's my theory about breaking the duopoly, destroying the duopoly. I said we got a few election cycles, and I said it's going to take the one last election cycle by Trump, when he basically breaks the majority of his promises, when he shows his true colors, because there's no way to really hold him accountable anymore, that people will begin to open their eyes and realize, damn, like, okay, he might not be Biden, but like, shit, what kind of bar is that? If the bar is Biden, well, motherfucker, nobody's gonna win the limbo game. You know what I'm saying? Like the bar is scraping the ground. It can't get no lower. I don't care how much yoga you did. If the bar is, oh, well, at least he didn't start World War III. Okay. Congratulations. Nah, he's just reposting AI videos about Trump taking over Gaza, about the United States taking over Gaza, about putting resorts on dead, or building resorts on the graves of dead innocent people. And like I said, that was Tel Aviv, right? Like if there was a video like that was put out like that by Hamas or a Palestinian even, and a president or major figure reposted it, and it was about Tel Aviv and not Gaza, oh God. Forget it. Forget it. It would be nuts. They would be going crazy. Andrew Tate wouldn't hesitate to jump on top of it. right? So I do got to give a shout out to people like Abby who are holding Trump's feet to the fire in regard to things like that. I've seen so many people come out and be like, oh, everything that Elon does, we voted for because we voted for Trump, because they're in this cult, right? Like I always say, Trump's an economy. Oh, by the way, Pat's going to be here in a second. Trump's an economy. So there, it's a cult. I tweeted out the other day. I can't tell the difference sometimes between blue MAGA and red MAGA. It's getting harder and harder to tell the difference because you got so many people that just are like, yep, everything he does, we voted for. Yep. Elon, this Starlink situation, for example, before we get onto this Nordstream Pipeline shit, I don't want Elon Musk. I've said time and time again, because people were trying to convince me that Elon Musk being part of the government without being, he was not confirmed by the Senate. He's not been scrutinized like everyone else has been or would be. He's not been put through the rigorous process of gaining a security clearance. And that's speaking as somebody who has gone through said process. I have had family members who have gone through said process. Bro, they be in your business. It is, and it takes a long time to get a security clearance, especially top secret. And this man don't got to do any of that. And all of a sudden, they're like, yeah, we're going to use Starlink. All airlines are going to be using Starlink. Oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, he's not receiving a paycheck. But every single time we turn around, there's some type of news about Elon Musk potentially being part of some type of plan with one of his companies or him personally that is going to gain him probably billions of dollars. How is that not the same level of corruption that we saw the Biden administration engaging in? And why aren't there more people talking about that? Pat has joined us. He is in the building. 1 second, y'all. Go ahead and bring my man on stage. Pat, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I like this environment I'm in here. Very colorful. I like it.
Yeah, man. I like to keep it colorful like my shirts. How you feeling, man? How you doing? There's been a lot of crazy stuff going on in the news lately, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's fast and furious. So, and we're doing our part by injecting more chaos into the conversation as well. So,
right. I don't. It has. So I saw some people tweeting out that the Epstein stuff is dropping or has dropped already.
Yeah, or is in the process of dropping. It's kind of strange that like it's going to drop on the 28th or something. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly is dropping that's not already out there, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about that before we even got into this Nordstream thing, because last time I checked, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they are like the list of people, like the plane, like whoever be on this plane that's already been there, list that was out about who was on this island. There have been court documents out already naming a majority of the people, like whenever they were like, yeah, Bill Clinton and Prince, what's his name? Prince
Andrew, Prince Andrew.
Yeah. Like y'all, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
I mean, like a literal king and now was included, and they're like, yeah, man, revelations. I'm like, so is anybody going to be prosecuted? Is that what we're leading to, or is it just going to be more distraction?
I'm not sure. We'll see. I mean, like you said, Niko, the names are out there in different places. You just have to do the work to collate them. I think Ryan Dawson, he's an American independent journalist on social media. He has already done that. He's collated that list. He has the full list. It just takes a bit of legwork, basically. So it's out there in pieces. So you can do it just by, like you said, Niko, going through the court documents and other resources that were already made public. So
yeah, I was actually saying, I mean, at once upon a time, you could have went to my YouTube channel and looked some stuff up, but then I had to take literally all those videos down because YouTube suspended me temporarily and demonetized me for bullying Epstein. So that was interesting.
You were bullying Jeffrey Epstein, bullying a billionaire sex trafficker. That's shame on you. Shame on you, Niko.
That happened. Not just to me. It was still like 2 or 3 of us. We all got demonetized at the same time. It was crazy, bro.
tells you what team YouTube is batting for.
Right?
Just saying.
Like we need to know that. But so you and 21st Newswire put out this article with the Nordstream Pipeline revelation. So could you delve into this for us and let us know, what have you guys found? Or what do you think you found?
Well, this is a tremendous bit of research and investigative journalism by a French journalist named Freddie Ponton, who's the author of this piece. So he's also a contributor at 21stCenturyWire.com. He's been investigating the Nordstream sabotage for the last 2 years. And what we found is a little by accident, actually. It's funny how these things work, but going through the Danish permits for Nordstream, translating them, discovered that so the question was, this is a very long pipeline, Niko. Why were the explosions chosen at those specific places? Because there's really shallow parts that are very easy that would require minimum in terms of diving logistics, like 30 meters deep. Why did they choose 80 to 100 meters? And why was it done in the place that it is? The location, whose territorial waters, where the explosions take place, because you have to remember this is a really complex junction here where Denmark, Sweden, German, and Polish exclusive economic zones and territorial waters clash, basically. And so it's like a very good question. And what we found in the Danish permits is that that area is a submarine training zone. It's a designated NATO submarine training zone. So during
for NATO specifically. Interesting.
NATO, yeah. So Seymour Hersh put out a story initially that got a lot of attention, where he accused the U.S. government of running point on this operation. A lot of people agree with this. Jeffrey Sachs and everybody's been quite vocal about it. We assume that the U.S. is leading the operation here, and I have no reason to disagree with that. The question then becomes, how do you make the case to implicate them? And because that's the problem with NATO, there's just too many countries, too many layers. Hersh believed that it was Baltops 22 was this massive NATO naval drill, which took place in June of 2022. This is where the explosives were planted. This is where the pipes were prepped for the explosions using shape charges. And then it was detonated later, and a few months later in September. Okay, so Baltops 22 was going on. All what we've listed in this piece here is not only are all the necessary equipment, but all the exact specialist teams for underwater demolition and explosive ordnance teams were present on site at Baltops. Okay, plus it's the ideal depth for submarines to bring the divers in the subs, and can use a special lockout chamber to get out and then come back in again. So what we're saying is that, and this is more or less hidden, there's no information about submarines at Baltops. You literally look at,
you guys actually in the article, you talk about the fact that submarines are specifically used because of their ability to move in stealth.
Yeah, especially German subs. Funny enough, that the Germans have some of the best submarine stealth technology of any country, and Germany knows every inch of the Baltic Sea, as you can imagine. They have a long history of submarine warfare in the Baltic Sea through the world wars and so forth. So, and it turns out that Germany is in charge of the submarine authority during Baltops. So all submarine activity is run by Germany during Baltops 22. So it's more likely, we believe anyway, that the U.S. is working with German, Norwegian, British, Dutch, Polish. Multiple countries are involved in what looks like a compartmentalized operation, where the only people who would really know that this was a sabotage operation during a massive NATO drill would be the people who pack the parcels with live explosives and the specialists who prep the pipes and put them in. Otherwise, everybody, including the people doing reconnaissance, 3D imaging of the ground, mimicking a operation, maybe mimicking a pipeline explosion. We don't know. That's classified. But a stroke of luck, Freddie is a very diligent journalist. He watches all of the media coverage from all of the countries involved. And sure enough, on Danish television, they accidentally broadcast the NATO Baltops command organizational chart
Wow.
with every single component of the operation on live TV in Denmark. And
Not even thinking like it would be perceivable. Not even thinking it would be
it
a
was
big
kind of pumping up the Danish Navy and how they're working with their partners, and they were real proud of this on one of the boats called the Sullivan, one of their naval vessels, decorated naval vessels. And there was a flat screen TV in the background while they're interviewing the crew, and it had the NATO chart on there. That's not publicly available, and so Freddie grabbed it, of course. It's not
and
public.
they posted and they just air it on live TV.
They aired it on live TV. It was kind of, maybe this was a mistake by NATO, but from that chart, it provided a lot of really essential information. It allowed you to basically map out who was in charge of who, under whose authority, which commanders were there, and it turns out that's how we knew, confirmed, that all of the top people from Panama City that Seymour Hersh had said in the story were there. And so this was the first. This is the first time we could match up and connect the dots. So from that point of view, I think Freddie has done a tremendous job. Now, obviously, this is a hypothesis. What we're saying is that it's highly likely, if indeed the general gist of Seymour Hersh's story is correct, not all the details, just the general theme, that it was done through the executive branch under Joe Biden, and it was done with the Pentagon and the CIA out of Panama City, then all of those pieces match up, and we proved it. So it really put meat on the bones of the Seymour Hersh story. And so that's, and it's also shown that it's opened the possibility of submarine activity in this operation, which answers a lot of questions, because a lot of these boats have transponders on them. They turn them off. They can also cloak and spoof, they call it, to make one boat look like another boat by emitting the wrong signal. So you can't see what's going on under the surface. You can kind of track things with satellites and AIS transponders above the surface, plus photographic evidence from the internet and reportage. But you really don't know what's going on the surface, and that's always been the big question. And there was no evidence of real submarine activity in that exact area, and we think we've found a circumstantial evidence here, and backed it up with the documentation from the documents that show these exact areas are for submarine training, and that answers that question of why that depth, why that location.
Why that depth? Yeah,
and that's now, really important. Yeah.
Very quick question. So, doesn't this have even further implications? Because I mean, I know that we're like, okay, NATO, or excuse me, the United States was behind this, and it was done, greenlighted through the executive branch, et cetera, et cetera. But if it is true that the submarines that were used were German, potentially, doesn't that mean that it's like NATO in general was involved? Because this pipeline, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to help Germany, correct?
Yeah, it was a multinational consortium, the end-to-end from connecting Germany to Russia, but it's just the Nordstream AG is a Swiss registered company, but there's multiple countries involved in that joint venture, basically. I think maybe Luxembourg, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of others, but Germany, Russia, and a few other stakeholders. So this would have been a NATO operation, the Nordstream sabotage. It would have been done under the cover of Baltops with so at the very least, we think, and this is also in the article, that you call the Baltic Sea as a NATO lake. After Sweden and Finland joined NATO, there's almost no non-NATO coastline in the whole of the Baltic Sea. So you can call it a NATO lake. Nothing moves in there without NATO knowing, unless it's a NATO who's doing the movement. So there's no chance of a Ukrainian drunk team of divers on a 50-foot sailboat, which is the official conspiracy theory that was floated out. Clearly, it seems like a red herring story. And what Freddie proves in this is that the amount of expertise to prep the pipe, has concrete casing on it, plus the steel pipe, I mean, it's a big operation. It's going to require many divers, backup teams, redundancies, and you only get one shot at it. This is a one-shot deal. Think of the implications of the sabotage. It's not something you would give to a bunch of novices who are smoking and drinking their way through the Baltic. I mean, it's just so silly.
Just
But
to be able to get the explosives, like
yeah,
like I would talk about that, like to get the explosives themselves, like that. You're not getting no regular explosives to blow up a pipeline of that magnitude. Like that's
no,
some professional military grade. Not only military grade, but somebody has expertise in detonating these particular underwater explosives.
yeah, prepping, just the prepping, not even the detonation, but making sure the concrete's cut from the pipe and you're down on the steel
Mhm.
at the right exact place where the pressure and the gas maximizes so that you can, so the pipe will the amplification of the explosion was because of the pressurization in the pipes. And you need to know exactly the depth and the location to do that. Now, that is a serious job. And
Yeah.
I think the US military and their NATO partners are really the only people who could do this so efficiently and then by stealth, so as
Yeah.
not to leave any fingerprints or obvious fingerprints.
Well,
And
I say because they've definitely left enough fingerprints, but at this
yeah,
point, it's who's gonna hold them accountable for it, right?
well, it's interesting. If you remember last year, the Russians, Maria Zakharova, foreign ministry spokeswoman, said or hinted, and there was another Russian official who did it. They said, "We have evidence that
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about
of the Western involvement in the Nord Stream sabotage." They wouldn't say what it is. The Russians will keep that card in their pocket because they're doing other negotiations, obviously. So they're probably reserving that information. If what they're saying is true, they would hold
they
that.
might have been waiting to see if Biden was going to win again. They might have waited
True.
because if Biden wins again, then you probably do have to play that card. If
Yeah.
not, you use it for negotiations behind the scenes, and in this particular case, perhaps to leverage Trump. Hey man, look, we ain't put it out there, but just letting you know, man, it's gonna come down the pipeline at some point that the United States was involved in this Nord Stream pipeline situation. It was the Biden administration. So how you gonna play it? And you could use that as leverage in the Ukraine war, right? This war against Ukraine.
Absolutely.
So Russia, I mean, they usually play stuff close to the chest, and they're usually thinking about 2 to 3 steps ahead. I know we use that 5D chess analogy a lot, but I mean, when it comes to Russia, I mean, this is the same country that had the entire Western world sanction them, and somehow they came out stronger economically than everybody else did. So in their case, I would bet that they would play 5D chess with some type of information like that. Now, back to just really quick, I just want to address this Germany situation because basically what it sounds like you're saying is that like Germany would be a massive part of this. And if I'm not mistaken, was it Germany that was about to conduct an investigation into this situation, and the United States was like, no.
No, Germany has. So so this is there's a part in the article called the mop-up operation. Mop-up. And the mop-up, we think that it was substantial mop-up operation. So Sweden went to investigate in Denmark immediately after, and they haven't disclosed the findings publicly. For Sweden, they said it's a national security issue. So does that make you suspicious? It probably does. And so the official
investigation, it's a national security issue. Why? Because we're guilty as shit. That's why. That's basically.
Yeah. Well, Germany is given the official investigation, which they have been dragging their heels now for over a year, and they have released nothing. And we think that they're going to sit on it for as long as humanly possible, maybe indefinitely. And so, at the very least, Germany, at least Olaf Scholz or the government, could be Annalena Baerbock. Someone in the government has knowledge of this, had knowledge of it. And you remember, Niko, that press conference in February 2022 with Joe Biden and Olaf Scholz in Washington. And Biden says, one of the press says, look, how can you end the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? It's a German infrastructure. And Biden says, if Russia invades, we'll end it. We'll end it. Scholz was standing right there. So there's no way they didn't have a conversation about this. If we believe, of course, we could be wrong. This is a hypothesis at this point. We don't have them red-handed. But if we believe it's a U.S.-led NATO sabotage operation during Baltops, at that point, Biden would have had to have a word with the German government on that. You can't go blowing up infrastructure in your allies' territories and not have somebody give it the okay.
Yeah.
That goes for Sweden and Denmark, by the way, as well, because they're NATO members. So,
but Sweden and Denmark, I mean, Germany is like the bigger, because they were the ones out of all of NATO who would have benefited the most, right? Based on what I've researched,
they've lost the most. Yeah, they've taken the most economic loss because of it.
Because the Ukraine situation obviously didn't help at all either. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna blow up this pipeline, and you're gonna feel the economic impact from the Russia-Ukraine war. But good luck is basically where they left them at after all this is said and done, right?
Because Germany is such a vassalized state to the U.S. and NATO that if this was tabled as an idea or an operation, they would have no choice but to say yes and just bite their tongue and go along with it. And the U.S. said, "Don't worry, we're going to supply you with LNG," which bails out the U.S. fracking industry. That's a nice little advantage there. And then Norway, the day after the Nord Stream explosion, Norway announces their new pipeline has just been launched between Norway and Poland, shipping Norwegian gas to Europe. So it honestly, it's kind of a joke if you look at it from that point of view. It's kind of a no-brainer, but you still have to prove it. This is the problem. And the evidence is very, very hard to come by. So we hope that these investigations will somehow, and you know what else is, there's another interesting part is there's a court case. Lloyd's of London insured the pipeline for Nord Stream 2, and they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay. It's exactly the same type of case as the World Trade Centers and 9/11, where lucky Larry Silverstein took out an insurance policy on the Twin Towers, and the insurance companies didn't want to pay out twice because they said it's a single terrorist event. Lucky Larry said, no, you've got to pay me twice. There's 2 attacks, 2 planes. And he ended up winning in the end. This is what Nord Stream Aggie is attempting to get compensation for 2 pipeline that got hit, Nord Stream 1 and 2. And so in the court documents that have come out, in the discovery, all sorts of new data has come out. They've even found a pipe with a dent in it with unsuccessful explosion, because there's 4 pipes. There's 2 on Nord Stream 1, 2 on Nord Stream 2, and only 3 of them exploded. 4th was unsuccessful. And so that adds, that's a really huge clue. That came out, the evidence of that came out in the court case with Lloyd's of London. So you can't lie on insurance cases, so that it's
not like that.
It's pretty solid, because they don't want to pay out. So the discovery's coming. And so that case could get kicked down the road with appeals for years. And I think this is what the U.S., Germany, and NATO want. They want to kick this down the road for like 10 years until everybody who is possibly involved is either out of politics or dead, basically. And then there might be some kind of clues.
Well, at least the politicians, like the most powerful, because somebody like will go down just to make it look like there's some semblance of accountability and justice, right? But like the ones who should be going down, like Biden and his cohorts, they're probably going to be dead, right?
Well, what's interesting is there's some preemptive pardons issued by Joe Biden before he left. One of them was Mark Milley, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. If Seymour Hersh is correct, and this was a special op run out of the Pentagon with the executive branch giving the direct order and the CIA, Mark Milley would have been the person who would have been in the room. And not only that, Mark Milley, we show evidence of him at Baltops. He was there. He was at Baltops.
What?
So head of the Joint Chiefs. So they're trying to nail him for the Afghan pullout, the Republicans, which is like kind of a non-starter because the Afghan was a debacle to begin with. But there's so many people who have jettisoned out of politics after Nord Stream. Liz Truss, who was prime minister during the detonation for 44 days and suddenly left mysteriously as prime minister after 44 days. She got caught sending a text message saying, "It's done." after the detonation, and then she disappears as prime minister, and they move her out and bring in Rishi Sunak. And they said it's because they didn't like her economic policies. I mean, so I mean, I'm just asking.
I mean, yeah, you just wait till the election comes and you hold it.
We're just asking questions, Niko. I mean, we don't know for certain, but there's some very compelling clues laying around that I think warrant much more inquiry than they're getting.
Yeah, 100%. Especially because, I mean, just once again, for the sake of accountability, there has to be something done. I mean, there's so much money invested into this Nordstream pipeline. And somebody, like you said, if everything's said and done, somebody's going to get a payout for insurance policy for a job that was done on purpose. There's the fact that the entire world, really, but specifically Europe, has suffered economically, right? Largely because of this issue with Russia and Ukraine and the natural gas beef that's going on and petroleum and all that good stuff. This pipeline would have helped alleviate that. And effectively, they made their people suffer on purpose for what?
Yeah.
Because of a deal that could have been brokered or that was brokered, really, and a pipeline that would have mutually benefited two countries, just that one of those, or multiple countries, but specifically a country that the United States does not want to have any symbiotic relationship economically, right? And that's what basically would have happened with the pipeline with a lot of European countries and Russia, right? Russia seems to tend to have they tend to try to engage in good faith with a lot of Western countries. And even still, as they try to engage in good faith, this type of shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, like if we don't start seeing people held accountable, like there's going to be more Russia-Ukraine situations. Because I feel like it's not just going to be like a Russia next time. It could be in Iran. If they broker a deal like that, it could be, or maybe once upon a time Syria before they were overthrown. It's going to be like, fine, if y'all don't want to engage in good faith, we're just going to start fucking shit up. Like basically what's going to happen.
This is a huge
look what the result is. Russia's about to get whatever the hell they want right now, right? Because they got tired of putting up with people's shit. They got tired of putting up with the West shit, and that's what's about to happen. So
I'm going to say this is the worst geopolitical move in modern history, to blow this pipeline up, because this will also destroy NATO. This will undermine the credibility of the alliance and the trust between member states. That's how profound the Nord Stream sabotage is. And you know what, Eco? This isn't the first time the U.S. has done this. They did it in 1982 when Ronald Reagan was president. They blew up the Yamal pipeline, which was bringing Russian gas to Europe via Siberia. And they opposed it. They sanctioned everybody. They did exactly what they're doing now. But they sent in a computer virus as a Trojan horse on a timer, and it blew it up. It was the largest non-nuclear explosion in history, could be seen from space, in 1982. And it was the same exact politics with all the sanctions, but it was the Soviet Union at the time.
In the middle of them trying to, you said it was 82, right?
82, yeah.
So yeah, this was around the time that they had already started trying to balkanize almost successfully at that point, Russia. They were breaking them down economically and blaming communism as the reason why they couldn't succeed. And we know that was close to the time that they started trying to bring in more of the Eastern European countries that eventually separated from Russia into the EU and into NATO. So you can, make an argument that that's a huge deal.
Guess where the transit point was? The hub was in Germany. Same.
Again.
Same.
Bro, so
exactly the same. So like when I see these patterns and I'm thinking that's a coincidence, but then that too, and that, and that, and that.
And like you said, it's because Germany had, because of their knowledge of the area, they have to be involved. They have to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's the bottom line is to keep Germany from facing east has always been the goal of Britain and the United States for 300 years. And so that's and to force Germany to face west, to make sure that Europe is facing west. West means Britain and the US.
Yeah.
Okay. Economically, politically. And so we're at the same juncture.
You said 300 years? I was just going to go back to World War I, but Jesus, you said that's crazy. I never thought about it like that, but I know at least since World War I, whenever, because the Kaiser and the Tsar well, not Kaiser and the what was he? Yeah, Tsar, right? They were cousins.
Yeah, World War One. Yeah.
They were cousins. They were working together. They were killing it in the Industrial Revolution, and then they turned them against each other.
Because the British could not take any overland trade routes dominating because they controlled the seas. They had the best merchant navy. So waterways, Suez Canal, and the oil in the Middle East. That's what it was all about that. So you can see, and the U.S. took over that mantle when the British Empire collapsed. The U.S. literally inherited all of that. And the U.S. is the most powerful navy and merchant shipping power on the planet. So they, of course, want everything going via littoral waters rather than overland in Eurasia, because then that transforms the power center of the world. And this is what Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote about. This is what all of the great Henry Kissinger understood this, and they crafted U.S. policy and NATO policy to conform with that idea, that grand strategy idea. So what we're seeing in Ukraine, so I'll leave this with you because this is important. When this sabotage happened in Nordstream, I thought, and everyone thought, that this is a reaction to the war in Ukraine. The Nord Stream sabotage, it was a reaction.
To some degree, yeah, for sure.
But it's actually reverse. The war in Ukraine was accelerated because of the construction of the Nord Stream pipelines. And when you look at it that way, things start to make a whole lot more sense. So I'm just going to
it was because that would mean, like you said, Germany is turning east. Even if it's only to a degree, like that's a 2 to 3 degrees. Yeah, that's still too close though, because of the formation of BRICS, how BRICS was developing at the time. Iran, they still hadn't been able to get rid of Syria, and there were pipelines being built through Syria, or at least attempted to be built through Syria. Yeah, I mean, when you put in all those countries are allied with Russia. So with that Nord Stream pipeline, and Germany effectively, we're still part of NATO, but we still want to work with Russia. Why not? If we're all going to get money, that's because it's not necessarily about the money itself as much as it is about the resources, and like you said, the center of the power, like where the power is flowing in pipelines. In the case of geopolitics, it is power. They are power in a lot of ways. So, damn, that's I kind of forget sometimes how important Germany is or has been to the world economy, or at least controlling Germany, right? Because they were almost taken out the picture. I forget, like there was a whole beef even after World War II. There was a bunch of beef over where Germany was going to fall, having to split it down the middle and all that good stuff because of how important it was. I mean, I feel like that was part of the reason. My theory is that the United States funded the Hitler regime. They funded Nazism. They allowed it to be what it was because of how important Germany was. And that's also why they made sure Germany. So my theory, by the way, is that the United States told Hitler, they demanded Hitler invade Russia, even though if he would have just not invaded Russia, he would have probably won the war. If he just would have, there's nothing that shows otherwise. And they were like, so we're the ones who are literally making all of your shit, and we're the only reason that you've been able to get away with this thus far. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to invade Russia now. And even though, there's a theory that he never died or whatever. But that's the ongoing theory for what him invading Russia is why why Germany lost the war in the minds of a lot of people, rightfully so. If he would have never done that, but it also looks like outside of that, Hitler was a military genius, right? So why would you make that decision unless somebody forced you to? Because you didn't have a choice. And that's usually the person who's paying your bills, right?
And don't let the British off the hook either, because Hitler invading Poland, and this is a really interesting part of history, is all of the factors that led to Hitler invading Poland. Britain and the Allies played a huge role in maneuvering that situation. Okay, and then the dominoes started to collapse after that. Same in World War One. The creation of the Zionist state was part of it's part of the breakup of the Ottoman Empire by the British and the French because of Germany. Germany was allied with the Ottoman Empire during the Kaiser.
What? Oh shit, boy, you just taught me something new. I did not know that. I had no idea.
I'm going to send you, when we're done, I'm going to send you a really fascinating piece of historical film you can watch that clearly you can see again the whole Middle East mess is a byproduct of European rivalries during the First World War till today.
And I knew that it had a little, like I knew that, but it's interesting that you bring that up because I always say one of the biggest mysteries in mainstream conversation, mainstream discourse is like how an empire as strong and cohesive as the Ottoman Empire was just destroyed effectively and balkanized in a lot of ways from World War One when they weren't even part of this, like they weren't technically part of World War One. It's like, what the hell happened? Y'all just had an empire and y'all fell. How does that make any sense whenever y'all weren't part of the fight? And I guess when you put it like that, yeah.
Well, because Germany got off to a good start in the First World War, and so the British and the French strategy was to extend. They wanted to stretch Germany out, so they started. They wanted to pull the Ottoman Empire against the Arabs by creating an Arab nationalist movement, and then the Zionists jumped on board for a Jewish nationalist movement at the same time in order to convince the Americans to get into the European theater. They lobbied in the U.S. saying this will be good for the Jewish community, helped to lobby Woodrow Wilson, and that was one of the swing deciding votes to get America into the First World War. But because Germany was allied with the Ottoman Empire, and the British did not want Germany to get their hands on the oil in Iraq. Of
course.
So they did a deal with the French to carve up the Middle East, but they didn't tell the Arabs. They lied to them. They said, we're going to give you an independent state in Palestine, and they never gave it to them. They just divided it. The British and the French divided amongst themselves, screwed the Arabs, and they defeated Germany. They got what they want in terms of the result, and then they promoted Turkish nationalism, which was the final blow to the Ottoman Empire, and that was the Kemalist revolution in Turkey, and that was the end. The Ottoman Empire collapsed in stages. It collapsed in stages. So, like from
damn, you know what I just realized? Like, I guess that's like the same strategy they use in Russia, basically, and USSR against USSR. That's almost the exact same post World War II, right? Because it's just like you said, like how much they were focused on making sure Germany would collapse and be within the control of the West. I always say like it's obvious. It's been like obvious. So I mean, I don't know if you hold this theory too, but my theory is like the Bolshevik Revolution was a facade. It was to make sure that the country, while in a period of transition, could be balkanized, but it didn't go successful. It wasn't successful because of Stalin. They never saw him coming, so they had to basically replicate the circumstances that allowed for World War II to take, or World War One to take place, because they saw, like, look what we did with the Ottoman Empire as a result of World War One. We could do the same thing with Russia, make them think that we're allies, and then because of the damage that we know is going to be done afterward, because that's why you got to send Germany, right? You got to exhaust them to the, like, they were exhausted. They were broken economically. You make sure Truman gets in instead of Henry Wallace, right? Because Henry Wallace gets in, none of this happens. You make sure Truman gets in, and then you wear them down in stages, like what we saw happen after World War II.
Yeah, in stages, in a slow collapse, piece by piece, and so it's interesting. It's it's the Germans and the British, the French and the Germans, and they created every single mess that we have today in the Middle East.
That's so wild.
It's terrible. It is really a tragic story, epic tragedy.
I need to do more. I gotta do more research into Germany, man. Because I've done some research, but it's mostly referring to like World War One and World War II, and obviously some of the post World War stuff because of the Cold War. But I honestly just was not that aware of how intricate and integral Germany's economy has been in the in the context of the world's economy. So I want to change gears really quick because did you hear about that news with Jake Tapper? His new book, man, you gonna buy it? Because
no. What's this?
Where he's switched up his tune recently.
Original.
So you remember back in the day whenever we were all like, yeah, man, Biden is demented. He's gone. His body is here, but his brain has gone elsewhere. And whenever, this was brought to Jake Tapper, this is on more than one occasion, but this is just a clip from what he had said in the past when someone brought up Biden's mental decline. Yeah, so he went from that to a book, Original Sin. President Biden's decline, its cover up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson.
So, yeah, you got shamed and called, ageist. Remember that? You was like, oh,
that was one. Yeah,
ageist. It's not happening. He's sharp as ever. He's fit as a fiddle. He's so spry. Look at him jog from the helicopter to the White House. Like, give me a break. I mean, this is to the worst. These people are so shameless with the damage they've done, not to just the U.S., but to the world. Because you think about what Biden did as president between Ukraine and Gaza. It's like, it's just no president. It's like having no chief executive for 4 years.
Effectively, bro, for a while, we talked about this on your show. Like, at a point, it seemed like Blinken was literally the president.
Yeah.
And it was just like everybody was, the Venezuela situation was like the biggest clue, because Blinken said one thing, but then Biden came out and said something completely different. Biden was like, no, we at the moment we're recognizing Maduro. After Blinken said, yeah, no, we don't trust the results of the election, we're not recognizing Maduro. That's not small. That's not insignificant. That's like your State Department is literally contradicting the commander in chief, and then there was no explanation given as to why that was.
No. That's there's so many examples of this during the presidency, and it's like, who else? Jill Biden. Yeah. She was probably running quite a lot of policy. His wife,
clearly.
Yeah.
Jill was I would say, like, she should be put in jail for what she did to Joe, because like, you should have stepped in and be like, nah, we gotta. But she was out there running cover for Joe too. But it basically, like you said, like she was deciding policy for Biden with all of her qualifications that I didn't know existed, because I don't think they do.
Dr. Joe Biden. Sorry, doctor. This is Dr. Joe.
What is she a doctor in? Is she a PhD?
She's apparently, we're told, she's a PhD in like education or something like that. I don't know, something like teaching. So doctor of teaching.
What?
It's a doctor.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's giving press conference. You would have thought she was like Michelle Obama or something. Like, at least Michelle's like somewhat qualified, because she actually did work for the government at one point in Illinois. Like, so, but Joe Biden was way too involved. What was crazy is, like, so when they say, why are you diagnosing from afar? Motherfucker, you act like we don't have television. Like, I can diagnose someone having, if I had the specialties, and there are people who did diagnose them with that. But I don't need to be in front of Joe Biden to see that the man is, like you say, he was jogging from the helicopter to the White House. The problem was, what they didn't tell you was, he wasn't actually trying to go to the White House. He was actually trying to jog from the helicopter to like the kitchen or to the cafeteria, and he just ended up at the White House because he forgot where he was going. Like, that's the shit that we were watching happen in real time. Remember? Oh man, what was that? Where was he at? Was it G7 where he was like just walked off?
Yeah, he walked off at the White House. He walked into the bushes one time. There's just so many examples of this. It was just really embarrassing, And then they had the. I don't want to get into the White House parties and the shenanigans that were going on while he was just completely. So he just put the aviator shades on and just do selfies for 3 hours. It's like Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, but it's just like, to me, I just feel like it's so dangerous, because Jake Tapper clearly was running cover for Biden. And It wasn't just Jake Tapper. It was not just CNN, but it's the fact that there were executives at this mainstream media conglomerate that told or allowed Jake Tapper to effectively lie and insult people for not believing their own eyes, ears, and their own personal experiences with their own family members, right? Like, I had a family member who experienced dementia. I'm like, this looks exactly like what my grandmother was going through before she passed. Yep. And then for him to turn around and write a fucking book, like, it's like the audacity and the cover up. You mean the cover up that you took part in?
Yeah. Yeah, that's that in there. Is that in the book? Is there a mea culpa? Because that's the chapter I want to go straight to. I want to go to the mea culpa, chapter 9. My regret by Jake
Yeah.
Tapper. Like, where's that? Is that in the book? Because if it is, I'll buy it. You know, I'd love to see him Schadenfreude his way through that story. Yeah, definitely.
The sad part, it's not like it was just Jake, right? Like, we know it was there were so many people who were telling us that he was spry and fit as a fiddle. And then whenever it was time for us to change gears and for them to select Kamala, it was, of course he's in mental decline. Everyone's noticed it. How could you not?
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on, what? When did y'all change your minds? It's just it's kind of weird that you're changing your mind right now, right? You mean after you change the debate rules, after you change the rules for the election and for the primary, and after you hid him from interviews, there should have been more debates, but and even primary, there should have been primary debates, right? And they're like, oh, we never do primary debates. I found out, which I guess I'm young, so I thought that was true, and I found out that's actually not true. They have done primary debates while there was a sitting president. I didn't know that. The Republican Party has too. So I'm like, that's a new rule that y'all just made up to protect Biden. So it was like, so during all of that time, y'all were doing what? Hiding him because he was fit as a fiddle? And then for them to just turn around, it's just, this is one of the so for example, Joanne Reed getting fired, and not just Joanne Reed, but multiple MSNBC people getting fired because their views are plummeting. CNN they were already plummeting. That happened before the Trump administration.
Fired from CNN. They peeled off a bunch of people in the last year. Don Lemon, he got ejected. There's a couple of other people. They just boom. I think Jim Acosta, he got ejected as
he got his show removed, and then like he decided that he was gonna leave completely. It's kind of like the Joanne Reed situation, like where it wasn't like, oh, hey, look, man, you ain't got to go home, but you do got to get the hell out of this primetime show. So Jim Acosta left, so it's like that. But it's y'all's fault. It's your fault. I don't like. Why are y'all so? Whenever Joy started crying, right? She's like crying. My show added value to whom?
To her friends and family who are watching it. So it's like,
I mean, maybe not even them. Well, I don't like to assume that everybody, because if I was just putting out a bunch of bullshit, my family would not support it. But it definitely added value to her bank account.
So how many? 350 million people in America, and like 20,000 tuning into Joy Reid. I mean, that's not very good.
Yeah, her average fell down to 50. Her average fell down to 50,000 a show. That, like, you're getting blown out by YouTubers.
Yeah, I know.
By
really.
mid-tier YouTubers, not even the big ones. You getting blown out by mid-tier YouTubers, and you want $3 million a year for what? Maddow's getting 30. Well, she had to take a $5 million pay cut actually, but
30 million. Rachel Maddow,
one day a week,
more money than Tom Cruise. It's just insane,
bro. She's making NBA money,
and that's NBA. That's NBA money.
And it's literally NBA money. For what?
Yeah, she can't. She couldn't.
It's crazy that she was like waxing poetically about how she's gonna miss Joanne Reid and how it's crime. I'm like, oh, why don't you take a pay cut so she can stay? That's the first thing I thought. Like, oh, if it's that big of a deal, why don't you take a pay cut?
You work for 15 mil? What does Rachel Maddow do? Like 1 hour every
a week, days? Every Monday.
1 hour a week. Is that it? Just once a week?
Yeah,
for an hour.
So every Monday. So recently, because Trump got reelected, they're trying to take advantage of the anti-Trump sentiment, and she did 100 days of Trump, of the Trump administration. So, but after that, she would go back to her schedule of once a week, like 30 million for once a week. And I'm like, I don't know what Rachel Maddow does. It's not even like she's telling exciting and like there are people who will lie to you, and at least I'm like, damn, man, at least they're like charismatic or something.
That's 500, Niko. That's $576,000 a week, and then that's 500,000 an hour for on what? Camera for an angry, I don't know,
paranoid like. I mean, she's a psychopath. I mean, I don't. Yeah, like
who you can blame.
who made the decision? Because that was crazy. And somebody sat down with contract negotiation with her and was like, yeah, 30 million for 1 day a week is definitely a great idea. In what profession, Pat? I've never seen that before. 30 million for 1 day a week? Man, you know what? Maybe I would lie too all the time. If y'all gonna pay me for 1 day a week, $30 million a year, shit, where I sign? Maybe. I don't know. I've never been tempted with something like that. But Jesus Christ, there's probably never been anyone tempted with $30 million for 1 day a fucking week. And you got to think of, so Pat knows, Pat's in media, I'm in media. It takes a lot for us to produce our shows, guys. It's a process. It takes longer for us, obviously, to prepare for a show, produce a show, do post-production, post clips, and things like that than does to actually be on air. Okay, Maddow has a team of people do all of that for her. She shows up. She might have to read some news right beforehand, but a lot of the shit's going to be on a teleprompter. She's not improvising a lot. She's not speaking extemporaneously a lot, and she's getting paid $30 million a year, y'all.
And she lies.
That we're crazy for Biden being demented.
And she lies a lot when she's doing her gag as well. You know, Tucker Carlson admitted he hired her, so she's in media because of Tucker. Tucker is the reason why we got Rachel Maddow. So he will forever, ever be the bane of our lives that he brought us Rachel Maddow back when she was slightly more feminine and blonde, apparently, or she had a different look back then. But
she played him. She knew what to do to get into the industry, bro. She's smart. She is, I believe.
It's Tucker, man. Tucker, blame Tucker.
That boy saw it. He got honeypotted.
He saw the talent. He saw the potential. So
he was like, oh, by the way, got a haircut and I'm gay. Sorry, I didn't tell you that before you hired.
It's like Superman going in the phone booth. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was, man. Oh, bro. I just once again, I can't really stress enough how pissed off I was when I saw that tweet. Because I'm like, y'all didn't. This is why y'all are suffering. This is why people are getting fired. And now the Jake Tappers and the Rachel Maddows of the world will keep their jobs until they decide to leave for the most part. And it's because like they're kind of like they are the representatives of the network. But like the networks have now put themselves in this pickle where it's like, we can't fire Rachel Maddow. The few views we get are from her, right? For 30 million. But now you got to fire all of your other talent, reasonable or not, because you can't. And now it's like you can't fire Rachel Maddow. You can't do it. That's why she was able to say what she was able to say.
I'd fire her and hire Candace Owens and pay Candace $40 million. You know, but Candace would probably do.
At least Candace gonna work.
She's gonna actually do content. Yeah, make content. That 1 hour a week is not making content. That's nothing.
Yeah, and Candace can actually research. So there's that. And
yeah,
Candace a lot of things, but she ain't lazy. I'll say that about her.
So they said Joy-Ann Reid was only recovering. The network is only covering 50% of advertising revenue against production costs on her show, which is really bad. So that's
it got to 10%.
10%. Yeah. So her ratings were that bad that it was costing the money to air her show.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised by that. And you know where that comes from? So that comes from being out of that's what comes from the being part of the Joe Biden administration, right? Everybody says that the best thing that can happen to mainstream media is that Trump wins because they don't have anything to talk about and they're not going to criticize Joe Biden and the administration, at least in a way that's effective. If anything, they should thank Joy-Ann Reid. I'm sure that when she was the only one at the network at the time, bold enough to cover Gaza, she was getting a lot of views because of it. And part of the reason, some people believe that has something to do with why she was fired. But I'm like, and the writing was already on the wall because you saw the pay cuts that happened all of last year. But there is an argument to be made because we know like Mehdi Hassan and a couple of other his other Muslim colleagues were like fired in a fucking day. That shit was crazy. And it honestly, I don't feel bad for Mehdi, but like it was kind of fucked up because the war started and they're like, yeah, man, y'all didn't really do anything wrong. Mehdi hadn't even got a chance to put out a tweet yet. The other guy was in Gaza. Just he went there to report and was fired while he was away. Basically, lost his show while he was away. Like, and it was basically because they were Muslim and they just assumed the stances they were going to take. And I feel like personally,
they got the call from Tel Aviv. You know,
yeah. I mean, basically that's what happened. And I just feel like the craziest part about that is none of them tried to sue, even though they would have probably won, right? I think everyone in their mom knows they would have won. And none of their colleagues spoke up for them, knowing that they lost their shows because of their identity and the assumption of what that would mean when it came to covering Gaza. And no one at their network spoke up for them. And that's including Joy, who was actually on the side of Palestinians for the most part. At least until Kamala, started running. So, like that's the karma's coming for a lot of people. And even though, like I said, I don't like necessarily those guys, and I definitely don't fucking like Mehdi. It's still extremely problematic that if you were going to fire Mehdi, like that would be the reason why, not because of his sham journalism that he's participated in, but because he was born the wrong race and chose the wrong religion at a time that that Israel was genociding Palestinians. That is insanity. And it really doesn't get I feel like that kind of got brushed under the rug because so much crazy shit happened this last year. But like that really happened. Like in MSNBC, I'm like, man, imagine if y'all didn't fire them and actually let them talk about Gaza. What would their views look like?
Yep.
Because Mehdi has weaponized that shit like a motherfucker. Mehdi has weaponized Gaza, got a shitload of views, he's gotten speaking. Like he got to debate. Who was he debate? He debated somebody in New York.
He's exploded because of after October 7th.
Yeah, he did. And he's full of shit because then he was like, yeah, you got to vote for Kamala though. We're like, but she's going to genocide everybody. Well, Trump is going to be worse. No, you literally can't get worse than genocide. You can't get any worse than that. Like he's going to build a parking lot where Biden paid for weapons to blow everything up. It's shit. It's still ethnic cleansing. It's part of the ethnic cleansing process. But like, I think bombing children is actually worse. And he was able to weaponize it. He exploded and whatnot. And that's, I guess, good for him. But like, it's just like the precedent that was set and how it just went completely unchallenged. It's scary. Yeah, I know maybe because I'm black, I'm thinking like, damn, bro, like, what if some Black Lives Matter shit happened or a black man got killed and I was at a news network and I just was like, yeah, man, that sucks. You shouldn't be killing black people if you're a cop. Whoa, hold on there, bro. You're fired. For what? Well, we're not going to actually fire. So you're not fired, but you're going to lose your show. For what? Going in different directions. You're black. They're white. So they're going to put them in your place. Like, what the? It's just crazy, bro. It really is. I want to shift gears real quick to this tweet that Russell Brand deleted.
Oh, no.
Russell Brand has been on, he's been on an adventure spiritually and religiously, and that adventure has led him to be a raging fucking Zionist lately.
Yeah, he's born again. He's a born again Zionist.
I was just over here.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be some psychedelics mixed in there.
Bullshit. I take psychedelics, and my psychedelics let me know that the genocide is horrible. Like, so we ain't doing the same psychedelics. If that's the case. So, nah, but so he tweets out. Can I do his accent? I'm gonna make fun of his accent.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is yet another example of how This is yet another example of Trump's unique brilliance. I will add, however, that the AI seemed to be a bit kinder to Elon than it was to Trump. He's talking about that in that video, guys.
This is the horrible video. This is a real kick in the teeth. This video to the Palestinians.
Understatement. That shit was. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe people were defending it.
So Brand is getting a kick out of this. It just kind of shows you where he's at, and
unique brilliance. First of all, so supposedly it wasn't Trump who actually made it, and it supposedly wasn't Trump's team. Supposedly, but you never know. But Like, how is that uniquely brilliant? What is brilliant about that? About reposting a video somebody else did, and like, I'm confused. I
See,
genuinely want to know what he meant by that.
he's also simping. He's simping, just like he was at that Rescue the Republic rally in DC. He was up there with Jordan Peterson doing that prayer, proselytizing to the world of what great Christians they are. And Jordan Peterson's literally having dinner with Benjamin Netanyahu, saying how in October 7th and the Gaza genocide isn't really a genocide, and they need to do it because Islamic extremism is such a great threat, and all this other stuff.
I hate Jordan Peterson, and I don't hate people that like him, but I hate the fact that he is considered to be an intelligent human being because he knows how to use big words. And that's because his logic to me never flows. I guess I did debate for so long. When someone's logic doesn't flow, it's like a fucking alarm goes off in my head. And he and Ben Shapiro, it happens with the most because, obviously they usually engage in most debates and people consider them to be intellectuals. But Jordan Peterson is actually an idiot. And I don't understand how people think otherwise. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Now, Sabby, everybody knows Sabby from Revolutionary Blackout Network. She actually asked him a pressing question. I think that has been on a lot of people's minds lately. Who's blackmailing you, Russ? Yeah, a lot of people been wondering that because you guys, Russell Brand, Jordan Peterson may be an idiot. Russell Brand is not. He's actually shown himself to be a relatively competent human being. And so, it doesn't jive. It's like Tulsi, right? A lot of the reasons we like Tulsi, all of a sudden, she did this 180-degree flip on all of her ethics, morals, and values. And that's not an accident because I know Tulsi is an intelligent human being. Like you said, they're farming MAGA clicks, they're farming support. But in Russell Brand's case, I don't think it's blackmail in Tulsi's case, but I do believe in Russell Brand's case, it probably is. Like, why else would you be out here taking pictures with selling your daughter's dildo dicks schmooly? Like, what the hell? Why would you think that that's a good idea? So, I just added to the conversation. Ain't no party like a P. Diddy party because a P. Diddy party gets you 25 to life. I honestly believe that has something to do with Russ. I really believe that.
Charming, very charming. So there you are.
Hey, get him to the Greek, right?
Get me that. That was his one film he made, isn't it? He only made one film. This is that one, isn't it?
And it's with P. Diddy. And it's the only film that P. Diddy is has a massive role in. And it's kind of strange, right? But his transition, I mean, if you think about it, for everybody who's curious, I don't believe that P. Diddy was acting of his own volition when he was engaging in all the illicit behavior and blackmailing that he engaged in the human trafficking that he is being accused of. Because I want to be very clear, no black person in the hip hop industry has control of themselves. Nobody. No, that's not how it works. Right? We if we're gonna be real, the same people who control Hollywood are the same people that control hip hop. Right? We all know this. Right? So if you think about Russell Brand's situation, it was around October. Well, first he was quiet. You remember that? How quiet Russell Brand was about October 7th and the events that took place after for a couple months?
Yeah.
It was noticeable because this is the man who comments on everything, especially topics that are considered to be controversial. And he was quiet. And I'm like, uh-oh, it's coming. I don't know but I know it's coming. Quiet. Then the Diddy stuff starts coming out. Then all of a sudden, I'm a born again Christian and I'm taking pictures of Robert fucking with Smooly for some reason. And then he's still trying to cover controversial topics while doing his best to not talk about Gaza. It is not the most pressing issue of our time. Then he starts running cover for Trump. And then he only he is calling out Biden regularly, but doesn't want to talk about the most obvious problem with Biden in the moment outside of his mental decline, which is Gaza. Has no problem talking about Ukraine, has no problem telling the truth about the situation between Russia and Ukraine, but won't mention Gaza. I just feel like, you know, like you said with the Nordstream Pipeline situation, we're just asking questions. But a lot of coincidences.
Yeah. There's some big wigs above P. Diddy that have very interesting connections with him and everyone else. So was it a blackmail operation? Was Diddy the Epstein of the entertainment industry?
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, and I feel like he's just the scapegoat, right? Because I feel like we're in a situation right now where Diddy's being indicted, or he has been indicted already. He's in prison, going to go to trial, probably going to be found guilty. I mean, even his lawyer is like, "Yeah, I'm out, can't deal with this." But I feel like we still haven't heard names. Why?
And there's a lot of names with,
and there's a lot of. There might be more names on that list than the Epstein list.
Much more. I'm sure those were big parties.
Yeah. And there are people who have been talking about this. Like Cat Williams talked about this often. There are so many people. Not Cameron. Was it Cameron? I think it might have been Cameron. They're like people from different rap groups who talked about this. People who like they will never be associated with Diddy because of the stuff that has gone down at his parties and they witnessed. And they're like, 50 Cent actually did an interview with the Breakfast Club. It was like, because Diddy said like he wanted to take him shopping. He's like, bro, I'm a grown ass man. You're not taking me shopping. He's like, you want to go shopping together? And he's like, nah, man, I want to take you shopping.
Have you seen the clips of him with Justin Bieber? That's creepy.
Oh my God, creepy.
Like a young Bieber saying, like he's got guardianship of Bieber for the weekend. I mean, what's that? I mean,
it was for like a month or some shit. It was like a minute. He's like, yeah, we're gonna have so much fun together, man. And then you can see Bieber like
he looked traumatized. He looked traumatized, Bieber.
Yeah. Oh, he looked. I mean, even now, you can tell
he's got all those tats, and his songs are all about like dark stuff, and like he was put through the ringer as a kid. But like a lot of these young artists, you know, they're just they're like a commodity for the industry, and then they're rewarded for as compensation for the abuse that they've had to withstand. That's kind of also how the system,
the trade-off, or their parents are rewarded substantially for because my thing is like, what parent would let their fucking child live with P. Diddy? I don't see how those two things are related. Like, why are you letting him have temporary guardianship? What? Well, because P. Diddy, could like, do you, and as a kid, like, do you want to be the reason that your parents aren't wealthy after all the time and money they invested in you? Now, my mom would never put me in a situation like that, but I know a lot of kids who would feel guilty and they just wouldn't say anything because that's like a natural inclination of a kid. It's like, if this is what I got to do to make sure my parents live comfortably, then I don't want to disappoint them.
Exactly.
And it's fucked up. It's some child. But like my thing, why would Russell Brand delete that tweet? Because that's not the first tweet of him praising. Did you see his tweet before where he said, because as a Christian, believing in the Old Testament, Jews have some claim to that land, some legitimate claim to that land. But where do we draw the line?
Yeah, that's typical wishy-washy Russell Brand. Like,
what do you mean? Where do we draw the line?
Yeah,
it's genocide.
He used to be kind of a staunch left winger. He was like he marketed himself as a Marxist and man of the people, and so he would have been like human rights to the wall on every single issue before, as you know, as a younger man. And now he
was until like October 7th ago.
Yeah, I think this transition's happened before, but it really became, like you said, Niko, noticeable after October 7th. And he's like, you know, these guys make a lot. You know how much money these guys make on YouTube? They make millions a year on YouTube. So like they're just as controlled. You know how YouTube algorithm.
Yeah, they're YouTube gatekeepers.
It's like a prison cell, and it's even more is as controlled as Hollywood and mainstream media at that level because of
probably more
what you could lose is that all that passive income? I mean, these people, but the worst part of the reason why we're so pissed off and shocked about it is because these people are marketed to us as independent media people, like they're somehow off Broadway, right? That's why we're pissed off. Yeah, because it's a big sham.
It's a big sham, and then like once again for somebody, because like during COVID, Russell Brand got that right when no one else was willing to speak. Which I guess
he waited a year and a half.
He did. Now in his defense, to some degree, I understand because YouTube was killing channels, and when you have mouths to feed, people relying on you. Yeah, me too. So I get it to some degree. And when you got mouths to feed, like literally people who were like relying on him paying or writing checks for them, I get it. Okay, cool. At least he didn't get it abysmally wrong. However, like he was one of the people that got brought on the Rumble with those massive contracts. It was like maybe 5 or 6 of them, right? Yeah. We know what the Rumble audience primarily is, right? Yes. Like it ain't a bunch of leftists. That's for damn sure. There are leftists there, but it's crypto bros, conservatives, MAGA, independent populists sprinkled in there. And although we can get some views from some of those conservatives who, that are open-minded, we know if you want to continue to convince Peter Thiel, because once again, that's who runs. I knew there was going to be a problem on Rumble whenever I'm like, isn't that the same motherfucker who put us in this YouTube situation? Right? Everybody can seem to forget that. So like, if you want to keep continuing to convince them that you are worth that money, because it ain't a little bit. One of my friends, I'm not going to say who it is, let me know, because she damn, I shouldn't have said that. They got into a bidding, put 2 people in a bidding war with Valuetainment and Rumble. Mm-hmm. And that shit was not a little bit of money. And it was more than 6 figures. I'm put it like that. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to continue to convince them that you are worth that amount of money, what are you going to have to do?
Got to toe the line. That's what you got to do. And whatever that line is that a right-wing line? Is that a left-wing line? Is that a mainstream corporate line? Is that a Zionist line? There's all sorts of different directions. Yep. You got to toe it.
And that's where right, because you can make the argument that at one point YouTube was probably a little bit more I won't say leftist leaning, but I would consider leftist leaning. It was like legitimately about your freedoms in exposing corruption. Like that was the main concern on YouTube. That because everybody was, especially during COVID and post-COVID, that was like what everybody was concerned about, because that was the first time people started really doing the digging that exposed the system, because they didn't have anything but time on their hands. Yep. And so it almost shifted to a degree from that to, oh my God, fuck Biden. And whoever's saying that and saying it the loudest and giving me enough reasons to say that, I like them, which ultimately leads to the Trump camp, right? Because you start seeing those views pile up. And now when you get down, that's one thing being in a Trump camp. That's one thing. It's another thing entirely being in a pro-genocide camp. Because there are plenty of people, like Candace, for example, who are in a Trump camp who are like, yeah, except for we stop that shit when it comes to genocide. Russell Brand is like literally trying to justify genocide or pretend like he doesn't know what a genocide is while being in a Trump camp. But like I said, it was the fact that it was like that particular tweet he chose to delete whenever she brought up the blackmail. Because, Sabby has a huge platform. She does great work. If y'all don't follow her, subscribe to Sabby's channel, part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. She does great work. And when she talks about something, and because you got to think, so Sabby has gone toe-to-toe with Roland Martin on Twitter and on YouTube. So when she tweets about something, generally it ends up getting traffic because they know she's going to talk about it on her show. And so it's like almost like Russell Brand's like aware of who she is because maybe of her, she's gone on The Hill a bunch of times. He's covered stuff from The Hill. She's gone on Breonna Joe Gray's show and vice versa. Mm. And she's had major names on her show. So it's almost like he didn't want people to start digging, especially as this case with Diddy starts unraveling, as this list with Epstein comes out, and maybe his name isn't on it, but maybe some of his associates are, and people start linking them. But like that was just a really like out of all the tweets to delete, and we know that tweet was problematic, but like that wasn't the only problematic tweet that Russell Brand's put out. So why that one?
Because he got pushback from probably some people that he respects, or people that on the fringe, it's just so tone deaf what he did,
Yeah, especially boy, Twitter forever. I don't know why you even deleted it. Why bother deleting it? Because it looks more suspect now. You could have did an apologetic tweet after and left the tweet up just for accountability purpose, and people would have more respect for you. But you just delete the tweet after someone called you out for potentially being blackmailed and saying that that's why you're putting out stuff like that in favor of Israel and Trump, and then don't address it. That is more suspect, in my opinion. So really quick, I'm gonna get you out here in a second, but I do got to get your opinion on this Israeli hostage basically coming out and saying what a lot of hostages have said, and a lot of people and a lot of families have said. Like, Israel is the one that's
I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought it's going to be my last second of my life.
Hold on one second. Let me pull it up for you.
I screamed so loud so someone would hear me. I couldn't move.
Yep.
I couldn't breathe. I thought it's going to be my last second of my life. I screamed so loud so someone would hear me. And I heard Yossi screaming too. But after a few seconds, I stopped hearing from Yossi.
So she's referring to the bombing campaign that Israel did in the raids before she was let go. So just for context, this is Noah Argamani takes to Instagram to debunk Israeli media narratives about her bruises, confirming again what she said months ago, that injuries she sustained were not from Hamas, but from bombings from the Israeli Air Force. So this is just a little clip from her talking about it.
מבנה שנורה על ידי מטוס של כוחותינו, מטוס F-16 שירה 3 טילים, 2 טילים התפוצצו ואחד לא התפוצץ. במבנה היינו כמה חיילי קסאם ו3 אסירים. אני, נועה ארגמני, איתי סבירסקי ויוסף שרעבי. לאחר שהטיל פגע במבנה שלנו, כולנו נקברנו בין ההריסות. חיילי הקסאם, חיילי החמאס, הצליחו להציל את החיים שלי ושל איתי, אבל לאחר מכן לא הצלחנו להציל את יוסי. יוסי לא שרד בשלב הזה. אחרי כמה ימים, 2 לילות, העבירו אותי ואת איתי למקום אחר, ובמהלך המעבר איתי נפגע מכוחותינו, נורא, ולא שרד. אני נותרתי פצועה עם חבלות בראש, כל הראש בחתכים, פצועה בשאר הגוף. איתי סבירסקי, יוסף שרעבי, שניהם מתו מירי כוחותינו. תעצרו את הטירוף הזה, תחזירו אותנו למשפחות שלנו כל עוד אנחנו בחיים. תחזירו אותנו הביתה.
Now, that was a powerful statement. And everyone said that she was making that statement at the time because she was in Hamas captivity. But like, she's now doubling back and saying it in front of the United Nations. Mm. That's a huge deal, especially considering this lie, or at least this narrative that Israel has put out recently about the baby, the baby that's
the Bibas family. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It is a lie. I'm 100% sure that they're lying to cover up the fact that they killed the family in the airstrikes because they didn't want to extend the ceasefire that was back in December of 2023. Remember when they had that pause? That was part of that. And then to cover that up again, they've made up a lie saying that the babies were strangled by Hamas, which is to break the ceasefire today. So I mean, guys are like,
which they already broke, by the way.
They really know how to do a number. I mean, these people are just insane.
I gotta give. First of all, let me give a shout out to Noah because, like, she can't go back home. She's not going back to Israel. I don't know where she's going after this conference, but she's not going back there.
But
It was
her
dangerous.
statement in the Israeli press, they tried to use her statement. They cherry picked bits to say the horror of Hamas. So it's like we're reading it one way, and then they're cutting and slicing it for their people another way.
Yeah,
So,
and then she put out. I remember she put out that video in response because she came out and said like, "No, it was definitely. I think it was her who said I was more terrified to be killed by an Israeli airstrike than I ever was of Hamas." Then they put out another statement saying, they just interpreted it wrong. She's saying that she was scared of Hamas. Then she puts out a video on Instagram saying like, nope, I'm specifically saying it was the IDF that was killing us. Like I was more terrified of Israel, et cetera, et cetera. And that was validating some of the other statements that I said. There was a soldier that was actually gassed to death. And because the family wouldn't stop telling Netanyahu or calling out Netanyahu about it and demanding answers, they literally carved they destroyed this man's grave and made it look like he never existed, which is kind of, he's a terrorist, so you work for the IDF, but like just saying like the fact that they would do that to somebody who was fighting their loyal genocide or being loyal to their genocide, and then all the mom wanted was answers, and for you to just destroy those committing a genocide on your behalf, like fighting on your behalf, that is insane. And for Noah to do that at the United Nations, unfortunately, the reality is there won't be any consequences. But what this does to me is reconfirm what we already knew. The IDF is in Israel specifically, and specifically Netanyahu and his cabinet, they're literally killing hostages. They're blowing up. It's Hannibal Directive 101, or at the very least, apathy and neglect, and that they have zero interest in the hostages, because we have to remember that this is in the context of we're doing all this because we want our hostages back. That's what they have been telling us. This genocide is about the hostages. So
that's the narrative.
If you're killing all of them, then what is it really about?
Yeah. Some hostages, but not all hostages.
In my opinion, if they could have got away with killing all the hostages, they would.
And blame Hamas.
Exactly. I feel like it's the only reason that as many hostages have survived as has survived at this moment is because Hamas is doing their best to protect them. And you can make an argument that it's for them, for the hostages specifically, but I do feel like it's legitimate to make an argument that it's also for their leverage, right? They know they need these hostages to maintain international leverage. So it's in their interest to protect the hostages. Yeah. Why would they strangle a baby?
One Israeli hostage, they can get 10 to 100 Palestinians freed. Why would they not look after them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Like, why would I, on the cusp of a ceasefire or in the middle, I'm going to send the corpse of a strangled baby back? What?
So you have to ask yourself the question then, if they're literally making up stories and lies that are this egregious, if they have such, like they claim they have such a clear case of victimization in Israel, and that the world is doing them wrong, and the Palestinians are trying to push them into the ocean, why do they need to make up lies and fabricate stories if their case is so good? And then the obvious answer is it's not a good case, and they need to lie to overcompensate for the fact that they've broken every single human rights UN resolution imaginable, every single norm and international norm you can imagine. That's the problem,
even for like, the United States has done some shit, right? Like we know that, but like what Israel has done, and the fact that they have done it, like, so for example, whenever Operation Northwood, like the proposal of killing U.S. citizens to justify, to create enough morale to go to war, and at least like right now it's unofficial, like it never happened. I don't really believe that, but at least they pretend like that's disgusting, right? Oh my God, we would never. They're like, yep, we got a whole directive called the Hannibal Directive. The fact that they named it the Hannibal Directive is fucking sick. That is sick, y'all. Like, and they're like, yeah, that would be a fucking cool name for us killing our own. And we're perfectly fine with doing so. and we will lay out the strategic value in doing so. But then it's like when the time comes to like actually own up to it, they're like, no, that never happened. It's like, but y'all actually have said y'all have done it already. What? So this time is different? Yeah, it's totally different this time. Well, how? Because all of this proof shows otherwise. And they don't even really try to argue with it. What they do is when they realize that the argument can't be won, they smear, they attack the families, they attack the hostages themselves, right? Which is why I said, like, Noah, I don't know her history. I don't know anything about her outside of, the moment she was captive to the point she was released and up to now. But like, I kind of feel bad for her because, I mean, Israel definitely was her home, but I doubt it will be anymore. And not just her family's in danger. Her family is in danger now, guys. This is the Mossad and the CIA. There's not really any difference between the two. Just like your family can be disappeared in the US if you piss off the intelligence community, it's probably even a higher likelihood of that happening in Israel with the Mossad.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they regard her as treasonous for telling the truth. Definitely.
Exactly. So, and I don't believe that this is so. Netanyahu has been undergoing hearings of corruption, right? So we got the bus explosion recently.
Yeah, the bus explosions. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so, 3 empty buses in a parking lot. Yeah, nothing suspect there.
Yeah, right. 3 empty ass. Right. What the?
Yeah, and we
think Hamas somehow infiltrated us and decided to make a statement. We're gonna violate our ceasefire to blow up 3 empty buses with no victims.
Yeah. Yep.
No, it's fucking ridiculous.
And use that as an excuse to militarily escalate in the West Bank. So totally not suspicious at all, just normal.
Yep. And then so there was another incident right after that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but at the same time, like these escalations are happening. Netanyahu's undergoing corruption hearings, and no one's talking about the details of those corruption hearings, which is kind of important because why should this motherfucker be making decisions about shit? Because people keep forgetting Israel is one of the few countries that actually has already set a precedent. As long as you're engaged in an active conflict, you can keep postponing elections. So if this man has not only something to gain just for greater Israel and his hate for Palestinian people and the general hate for Arabs in general, like he has something to gain in that regard, but specifically, he avoids prison. He avoids being held accountable for all the corruption he's participated in if he continues the genocide. Yeah. That's like, and people aren't thinking about that. So the details of these corruption hearings that might not have anything to do with Palestine really is a big deal. But then also there's the fact that these corruption hearings also could be revealing shit about, like, for example, how that Nova Music Festival was moved to the area that was most accessible to Hamas. And no one gave a reason why. No one gave a reason why there was a 3-hour response time or something like that from the time they were called to the time that the IDF arrived. And obviously, all of this stuff is going to flow because of the gravity of the situation. It's going to flow through Netanyahu. There's a lot of shit that is probably being revealed, and it's going to be revealed, and it's and not just with the hearing once again, but as all this other stuff is going on, and then this Noah situation is, of course, Netanyahu knew that she was going to be giving testimony. So what's the best way to distract from the testimony? Let's talk about 3 buses. Let's talk about this baby situation. Let's talk about, this, a stabbing from a Palestinian happened today. At the same time she's giving this testimony, Pat. Did you know that?
Who'd have thought? Nothing suspicious there.
No, yeah, I'm like, there's no way that this happened the same day. Now, and what's like crazy, like they missed everybody. They just happened to stab a police officer. And they've confirmed it's a Palestinian with zero criminal record that stabbed this police officer, supposedly.
A terrorist attack. It's a terrorism. Terrorism struck in the heart of Israel. We're never going to be safe until we eradicate Hamas.
Exactly. So how many Israelis do you believe, and now not just Israelis, but how many Israeli news stations have been running that story hours on end, over and over and over again, instead of running that speech from Noah at the UN?
Yeah. For this, something that's smaller than the size of New Jersey is the most propagandized strip of land on the planet, Israel. The most
Yep.
propagandized society on the planet. It's unbelievable how propagandized they are. And Israelis will tell you that. Many Israelis have testified to that. So
Yep.
this is the
That is a fact.
blinkers
And,
on.
and it's crazy saying that, like, as Americans, because Americans, they be propagandized like, hey, whoo, it's scary. Because even some of the most well-educated, independent thinking Americans are extremely propagandized when it comes to certain issues. Still, like, they have a knee-jerk conditioned reaction to some issues, like Russia, for example. And even still, Israelis, and I'm talking about as a person who I dated an Israeli. Probably, I would make an argument that the reason we broke up was probably because of Israel and Palestine. Because as sweet as she was, there was just something that was off. Whenever that issue was brought up, it would be an explosion. It couldn't, like, you couldn't joke about it. You couldn't, like, mention it. We couldn't hear about it on the news or on the radio. I couldn't even talk about it on my show. One time we almost got into a fight while I was doing my live show because she heard me bring up the subject while she was in the shower pad, and she almost lost her mind. And I was like, because I said, because Israelis like to push this lie that Palestinians have equal rights, or at least Zionists push that lie that Palestinians have equal rights even in Gaza. And I'm like, okay, so, like, why wait? Because she worked in the IDF, and she was actually part of, like, one of the special force units for IDF before she left. And she was like, well, we would go in and, like, take their guns. Like, what? I'm like, oh, okay. What do y'all have in Israel what we would call, like, a Second Amendment? And she was like, yeah, of course. I was like, so Palestinians don't? No. I was like, why not? Well, because they would use them against us. I'm like, but y'all have guns? Yeah. For what? Well, to protect against them. But you can just kick in their door to check if they have guns? Yeah, because it's against the law for them to have guns. So can they kick in the door to check if you have guns? No, that's illegal. I'm like, you don't hear the problem with this? You're not seeing it? No, I don't see the problem at all. Why? Bro, I'm dead at, and there was like a disconnect. And, well, what did they say? What did that study that came out? That, like, Israelis, especially specifically Ashkenazi Jews, have a higher tendency to suffer from schizophrenia.
There is that study out. Yeah, you can Google that. I think major study. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about, because you have to disassociate to some degree. I don't care how crazy you are to engage in some of the behavior that they engage in. Even if you are psychopathic, there is a level of disassociation that has to take place in your brain. When you disassociate like that, it will naturally lead to schizophrenia. And then the problem with that is once you get to that point where you are schizophrenic, that is not hereditary. That mental illness can be passed down and is passed down often. So, like, you're breeding some of these people, some of these kids that are in IDF, they're suffering from a mental illness that they inherited from something that happened.
Yeah, they start the conditioning from the age of from preschool. I'll drop you a video after the show, which you probably seen anyway. But it starts at preschool, and then they stop the indoctrination at, like, grade 9, grade 10, and then they join the IDF when they're, whatever, come of age 18 or whatever. So heavily conditioned right through their childhood. Like, really drilled in all the time, constantly for like 10 years. Or something like that.
They really are convinced that the entire Arab, like, world is trying to destroy them. And I've always asked, I'm like, so then why aren't y'all destroyed? Because I don't know if you noticed, but y'all kind of small. And if the UAE doesn't want to destroy them, we know that. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to destroy them. I'm like, it's super weird because, like, ISIS never fucking attacks y'all, but supposedly they're Islamic extremists, which is a whole different conversation.
Egypt's not destroyed them.
And they're the neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, are you sure about that? Well, why haven't they destroyed you yet?
Jordan.
Well, it's because we have guns. I'm like, that is really sound. That doesn't, the math ain't really math in there. And it's because, well, a lot of those Arab countries are paid to protect y'all. Like, they're y'all paid security. I mean, if we're keeping it real. But it's like you said, most propagandized people in the world that are also suffering probably from a lot of mental illness, being conditioned. It's, I try not to victim blame because, like, I know there are a lot of those people in IDF that they don't know anything else. If they've never been out, they don't know anything else but to be psychopathic killers who hate Arabs. I know black Israelis, Pat, who have suffered from extreme racism from Ashkenazi. I mean, they talked about it to me, and then I asked, okay, yeah, man, I kind of like how Palestinians are treated. Well, no, it's not like that. That's not. Don't compare the two. I'm like, what? Hold on. Now explain to me again what you just said. They treat me different because I'm black, man. It doesn't even matter if I'm Jewish. We're all supposed to be Israeli, but it's not really like that. Like you got Israeli rappers, Pat, who rap about the racism that they experience from the Ashkenazi Jews. And then we'll turn around and be like, we gotta eradicate all Palestinians. No such thing as an innocent Palestinian.
Yeah.
What?
That's a crazy subdivision of society, actually.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah.
But go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at, man. Let's go ahead and get you on up out of here.
Yeah, 21stcenturywire.com. That's our website. Been running since 2009. Doing a lot of great investigative journalism, some of which we've shared on your show today, Niko. Thank you very much for helping to publicize this great story on the Nordstream Pipeline. And I do a show called The Sunday Wire, live every Sunday, and then the Midweek Wire, which Niko, you were on a couple weeks ago. And that was a good, fun discussion on Elon Musk and other interesting things. But earlier today, we did a Nordstream Pipeline with Freddie Ponton on the Midweek Wire. So if you're interested in that topic, you have to watch this interview we did today, because we break it all down piece by piece, and it's really helpful.
So for everybody who's curious, I posted the link for the article from 21st Century News article in the Nordstream Pipeline in the chat, and I'm also going to make sure that it's in the description too for you guys to access. So make sure you share that and read it. It's a very, very interesting article that makes a very compelling argument. And like I said, and like Pat said, this Nordstream issue is not small potatoes. And honestly, Trump should probably get on this shit. And to be fair, for all we know, he might already be on it. It could have a lot to do with his recent statements with Russia and Ukraine.
Can blame it on Biden if you want. It's just like an open door. You know what I mean?
That's the problem, right? It is an open door. It's like one of those situations where it's like, I can't only blame this on Biden, though. I'm going to have to, you're going to bring in so many names and so many countries. And it's like, you would, justifiably leave NATO. You would have to leave NATO, but you can't leave NATO, right? You can't. Because there's an argument that could be made, which is fucking insane to say, because I actually support leaving NATO, and I think that it actually would be good for the world if the U.S. But the world might fall into chaos, because the only way that the world order has been able to maintain itself is through that NATO unity.
Yeah. It has provided continuity, and in the vacuum of power, a lot of crazy things could happen. And it has.
Yeah, it already has, right? And they're kind of only unified in name only at this point. Right? It's like nominal, because, for example, with this, all of a sudden, all of Europe, they came out today, or at least a lot of Europe is now lobbying for Ukraine to join NATO. And where it was at first, they were like, they were at least saying nah, we can't allow that. And the United States has been like, no, you can't do it. But they asked Trump again today, and Trump was like, that shit's not happening. He's like, I'm sorry, it ain't happening. He's like, that's how this mess started to begin with. So he has some sense.
Yeah, some sense.
He has some sense, but that also lets you know there's a disconnect, because the goal and the objective has always been to maintain the illusion that there was a possibility.
Yeah, that's right.
To be on a unified front, and it seems like they're not. NATO is not on a unified front. Even Macron, when he remember Trump he met with Macron before he got elected. So there seems to be, and Macron is interesting. That's like the France situation is interesting, because we know everything that's going on in Africa. It ain't looking good for France right now, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Nope.
It's like, because the Africans keep winning.
And Candace Owens has France by the balls. The whole country's literally, she's the most powerful woman in Europe.
Bro, the way she be going out. Yeah,
Candace Owens is the most powerful woman in Europe. She has the fate of the French Republic in her hands.
Isn't that so crazy?
She's just squeezing. She's squeezing the cojones of Emmanuel Macron and his wife.
Yeah, that's the man, woman, old,
Why?
like that's 80 years older than that situation is weirder than the world makes it seem. It's weird how it was portrayed as normal for so long. Actually,
When
I
Mac-
never knew that was his mom until like 2 or 3 years ago. Or his wife until like 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it was his mom that was just always with him.
Really? Wow. Okay, there you go.
Because it didn't. I'm like, there's no way. I thought it was an ongoing joke, like that. I would like maybe it was an inside joke that I never got. Like, oh, she's like his mom's always with him to the point where they're making it seem like it's his wife because she never. That's what I thought it was. Because ain't no way that's his wife.
Creepy. Absolutely creepy. I mean, when Macron was at the White House with Trump in the Oval Office, I was expecting Candace to pop out from behind the curtains, say, "Surprise! Hi,
Shit, she's
Manny.
probably not gonna be allowed into France. If she tries to go
Hey,
to France,
Manny.
they ain't gonna let her in.
Candace. Nice to meet you. I've got your letter here from your lawyers. This isn't really good for us. I don't really like these letters." And that would have been so funny if Trump hijacked Emmanuel Macron with Candace. Great.
That would be funny as shit. Because I don't think they really like each other that much. The last time I checked, but
Trump and Candace?
no, Trump and Macron.
Oh no! Oh, Trump and Macron. Yeah, it looked a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, because Macron used to talk shit about Trump, and now,
and Trump's he's seen the reports on the wife. Trump has.
So. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, this is like that's awkward just being in a room where like knowing everything you know about her, and you're like gotta pretend like like it's not weird.
Yeah, you're just a freak show. Like, let's face it, it's a freak show.
Oh man, yeah. What the hell's going on in France? Hey man, France has been known for weirdness, so I guess
I love France. I love French. I love the French people. I love France. I like culture, the food. It's amazing, but their politics is really creepy. This is the problem with France.
It makes sense that that they're always protesting because like if you had to look at that and pretend like that shit was normal all the time, your ass would be out there with orange vest on too or yellow vest too. Like I like y'all not about to continue. Y'all not gonna convince me this shit's normal. This shit is not normal. I'd be out there protesting too. So, but hey man, thank you very much for the super sticker, Wanda USA. Good looking out. Y'all go follow Pat on Twitter at 21 Wire.
21st Century Wire, 21st Century Wire, or short 21 Wire is the abbreviation.
At 21 Wire, y'all check out that article. I posted in the chat. Also, I'm going to post it in the description as well. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all share this video. Leave a comment. Help us in the algorithm. Like. Follow us on Telegram. That link is in the description. Follow me on Twitter at Real Niko House. You can support the show by joining our Patreon or becoming a premium subscriber here on YouTube. And follow Hotspot at Hotspot on X. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.